Hey juniors, today we're going to continue talking about the Revolutionary War. So go ahead in the very top right hand corner of your notes page, write today's date, which is 8/12/2014. Specifically today, we're going to speak about the pamphlet Common Sense and the Declaration of Independence, which you should already be familiar with. Our essential question for the day is, what is common sense and the Declaration of Independence? And I've shown two examples here of what the Declaration of Independence might look like and what common sense might have looked like. Let's go ahead and review as to where we were. At this point, the Revolutionary War is in full force. The colonists have just lost a battle at Bunker Hill, but are now filled with ideas and beliefs that they can beat the British. As usual, feel free to pause this video at any moment to get the notes that you need. 1776 was a huge year in the Revolutionary War. In this year, Common Sense is written by Thomas Paine. And likewise, the Declaration of Independence is written by Thomas Jefferson. Both of these bullet points are bolded, underlined, and in gold, so they do need to go down in your notes page. We're going to go into each one of them deeply. So let's start with Common Sense. Common Sense was a 47-page pamphlet distributed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was written by Thomas Paine, and it argued that citizens, not queens and kings, should make laws. And it also argued against the abuse of government power. These were the first ideas that the United States would use to form their democracy on later on. And we're going to watch a small clip on Common Sense and Thomas Paine so we can get a better idea of it.
The sun never shined on a cause of greater worth. 'Tis not the concern of a day, a year, or an age. Posterity will be affected, even to the end of time.
The writer of those words was an Englishman who had immigrated to the New World only a few months before the clash at Lexington and Concord. He was self-educated and penniless. At age 38, Thomas Paine had been a tutor, tobacconist, grocer, and corset maker, and he had failed at everything except troublemaking.
While he was in London, he enjoyed taking on everyone as a kind of 18th century Socrates. He was in the marketplace arguing with everybody. He became a tax collector, was fired from his job when he was caught handing out petitions to members of parliament asking for higher pay for the tax collectors.
In London, Paine's appeals on behalf of underpaid civil servants caught the attention of Benjamin Franklin, who was there as an agent for several colonies. After meeting Paine, Franklin recommended him as an ingenious, worthy young man and sponsored his immigration to America. Once in Philadelphia, Paine began to write a pamphlet promoting the radical idea of American independence. Thomas Paine had suffered all his life under England's class system, and he spared no venom in his writing. In January of 1776, after virtually every typesetter in Philadelphia had refused to touch his treasonous work, a rebel printer finally agreed to publish it. Common Sense was its down-to-earth title. In its 47 pages, Paine attacked the notion that England's king should be seen as a parent to the American colonists. He set out to dethrone the sacred institution of monarchy.
When it came out, Common Sense sold 120,000 copies in the first 3 months, and over the course of several years it sold 500,000 copies. This was the equivalent or almost the equivalent of the Bible.
Common Sense was read aloud from street corners and pulpits, in taverns, parlors, and schools. The brilliant pamphlet was published anonymously. People speculated it had been written by Samuel Adams, John Adams, or even Benjamin Franklin.
Tom Paine was saying in this pamphlet what a lot of people were now thinking but had hardly dared to say out loud. In other words, that the colonies were at war with England.
Okay, that's enough of that. All right, let's move on to the Declaration of Independence. As we just discussed, Common Sense was essentially trying to convince more colonists to join the Patriot movement in the rebellion against Britain. The Declaration of Independence was the next step of the Revolution. It was written by Thomas Jefferson and expressed three main ideas: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I'm sure you've heard that famous phrase many, many times. On July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was approved. The United States of America was born and all ties were broken with Britain. The Declaration of Independence also did a lot in terms of motivating the Continental Army, as they now had something to fight for, which was their new country. To show you how important the Declaration of Independence is and how often it's referenced, we're actually going to watch a small clip of President Obama referencing it in his inauguration speech from 2013.
What makes us exceptional, what makes us American, is our allegiance to an idea articulated in a declaration made more than 2 centuries ago. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, we continue a never-ending journey to bridge the meaning of those words with the realities of our time.
Okay, thanks, President Obama. Okay, hopefully you got the point of watching President Obama say the words of the Declaration of Independence. This is one of America's biggest government documents. It's what our country was founded on: the idea of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and the idea that all men are created equal. Now, as we know, this has not always been a reality in America. However, that was the idea that the founders created when Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. So where does this leave the colonists? At this point, the rebellion is now 100% official. The colonies have broken from Britain and the United States has been born. However, the colonies still need to win the war, but the Declaration of Independence and the writing of Common Sense were both pivotal moments in helping the colonists break away from Britain for good. That's going to be it for Intro to New Material today, guys. Thanks for listening.